Hello everyone. For the discussion board this week, I was looking at the Wheel of Wellness model that we could find in our book, and I also found another source on counseling.org, Article 31, that talked about a couple counseling approaches that were kind of based off of the Wheel of Wellness, and the concepts that underlie the Wheel of Wellness. One of which was, and I thought was most interesting, was integrative medicine, which has that underlying approach of the Wheel of Wellness that has to do with a holistic approach to healthcare, which is spreading rapidly throughout the country, across the world, honestly, that it's not just about medicine anymore, that people are... and doctors and physicians especially are understanding that in order for patients to get better, they don't just need physical treatment, they need mental and psychological, spiritual treatment as well. Kind of provides avenues for alternative healthcare. Another counseling approach based off of the Wheel of Wellness was individual psychology, which was also mentioned in our textbook, which has to do with Alderian therapy, and that concept of the three most important aspects of our lives: work, love, and friendship or community. All of those things are what contribute to our well-being, which again is that holistic approach ideal that has to do with the Wheel of Wellness. Looking at the biopsychosocial model, I saw that the first thing that it proposes is that the three components, biology, psychology, social cultural factors, those are what can either give you a healthy well-being or not so healthy well-being. And with biology, that's the biochemical, all the transmissions that are happening in your brain throughout your body, things that make you happy, make you sad, those kinds of things that affect your life. It also has to do with genes, which can play a huge part in different, especially with if you have mood disorders and stuff like that too. Psychology, that's what's happening around you and how it's affecting how your brain processes what's happening and how you react to it and how you respond to it. And then the social cultural factors, of course, are the factors that come specifically from outside sources of your environment. And I was looking at the biopsychosocial model and looking at it from the terms of counselors and specifically clinical mental health counseling, how it could be important to us. And I kind of see how it developed more of a framework for counselors. The textbook was talking about the assessments and interventions, that hold true for us as counselors across all these different situations that you might find, assuming that you have to address all of these little tiny parts of a person as you're counseling them. It kind of gives you a little bit more of a framework, a little bit more of idealism for how to handle that. And also our career in general is promoted with all these concepts by that holistic approach concept, especially because that shows that we are important to people. That makes, especially people like physicians and, doctors, all those people, shows that they need help from specialists like us to take care of that one aspect of their health, their mental health. They need other people to be able to take care of us, and we're those people that are called to do that. And that's very, very, very important for us and our profession. The podcast was very interesting. I haven't spent quite as much time talking about religion, I don't think, since I started the program, so it's kind of interesting to talk about it a little bit more. The first thing I noticed, the speaker defines spirituality and religion as separate beings. She was talking about religion being more of a public affair, we all know the main religions that are out in the world: Christianity, Islam, all those things. If you were to say one of those, most people in the world would know what it was, and so you are picking a category and you're identifying yourself under that category. whereas spirituality is very different, and it's much more private, and it doesn't really necessarily fall under a category. There's different thought processes that you have on your own or in your own mind during your life based on your own experiences that kind of make you be or not be a spiritual person, and however you perceive that is up to you. Another thing that specifically about that is, and I never really thought about this before, is you can be one, or you can be both, or you can be none, which is very interesting to me, that to really put like a word to it, like how people can be religious but not be spiritual. Like they can, go to church, they can do all of their rituals, they can say all the words out loud, like pray all the prayers, but they might not have that spirituality in them that drives them. It was very interesting to think about that. Also, coming from a rural area, it was very interesting to look into issues that we as counselors may face in rural areas, which was another question on here, especially regarding religion. In a small town, there might be only one church. You might not have, as a counselor, you might not have the ability to reach out to somebody in the community, in that immediate community, to help them, to help your client out. You might have to kind of go without your means and kind of expand a little bit and do a lot of research and find people to look over you and supervise you that might be online. They may not be there. They might be across the country. So that's really falls on the counselor to really get that information and do that research. And lastly, I do 100% think it's important for counselors to discuss religion with their clients, and that's not imposing our religious beliefs on them. That's not talking about our religions. If a client brings it up and wants to talk about it, then a counselor should be willing to do so, and that's why we have the 9 competencies that were outlined in the podcast as well, to kind of guide us through that conversation and know what we should and can talk about. But as part of looking at this whole wheel of wellness, spirituality in most of the examples is at the center. And whatever that means to that person, whether that's their religion or they just want to talk about their own spirituality, we as counselors, I think, have to be willing to hear them out and listen. And that might be the difference between them leaving there a healthier person or a less healthy person. It's not up to us to steer them or give them any decisions or anything like that based on their religion, but if a client wants to talk about it, I think that a counselor should want to listen.